My ex-wife demanded that I pay for her new husband's daughter to go to summer camp. When I refused, she threatened to turn my own children against me. She thought I would break. She thought I would just give her the money to keep the peace. But she could never have imagined that I would start digging. She didn't know that this seemingly small argument over money would lead me to their biggest, dirtiest secret, a secret that would ultimately destroy everything she had worked so hard to build. It's strange how a single conversation can unravel the fragile peace you've spent years building. For the longest time, my primary goal has been stability for my kids, Liam and Sophia. After my ex-wife Jessica and I divorced, I made it my mission to be the calm in their storm. We agreed to co-parent, to be civil, to put the children first. I thought we were succeeding. I was wrong. Our divorce wasn't born from a single explosive event. It was a slow erosion. After our second child, Sophia, was born, something in Jessica changed. A distance grew between us, a chill that had nothing to do with the late-night feedings or the stress of a newborn. I found out later she had started seeing someone else, a man named Derek. For the sake of the kids, I tried to ignore the signs, hoping it was a phase. But one day I came home from work to a house that was too quiet. A note on the kitchen counter explained she had left. She needed someone who understood her. She left me with our two children and a shattered sense of reality. We settled into a new normal. The kids spent most of their time with me in our family home in Maple Creek. Jessica married Derek, and they quickly had a child of their own. She seemed to be building what she called her perfect blended family. I paid my child support on time, every time, and covered all the extras for Liam and Sophia, school trips, new clothes, hobbies. I never complained. My focus was on my children's happiness. I thought that by being cooperative, I was protecting them. The incident that changed everything started with a simple email. It was from Jessica. The subject line read, "Summer Camp." I smiled, thinking it was about coordinating schedules for Liam and Sophia. But the email wasn't about them. Not really. Jessica wrote that she had found a wonderful, high-end summer arts camp for all the kids. She meant all the kids, Liam, Sophia, her new baby, and Derek's 10-year-old daughter from his previous relationship, Maya. She went on and on about how it would be a fantastic bonding experience for the whole family. Then came the punchline. The camp was expensive, and she needed me to pay for Maya's spot. She phrased it as if it were the most natural request in the world. "It wouldn't be fair for Liam and Sophia to go if Maya can't," she wrote. "They would feel so guilty. We have to think about their emotional well-being." I stared at the screen, reading the words over and over. She was trying to use my love for my own children as a weapon to guilt me into financing her new family. It was the most audacious, manipulative thing she had ever done. It wasn't about the money, it was the principle. My responsibility is to Liam and Sophia. Derek is Maya's father. I took a deep breath and wrote back a calm, firm reply. I explained that I would, of course, pay for Liam and Sophia's camp fees, but I was not responsible for Maya's. I suggested that her father, Derek, should cover her expenses. I thought that would be the end of it. Her response was immediate and furious. A barrage of texts and calls followed. She accused me of being selfish, of trying to create a divide between the children, of punishing her for being happy. The final text was the one that truly chilled me.
"You're a monster. You're teaching our children that it's okay to exclude family. If you do this, I'll make sure they understand exactly what kind of man their father is. They will see you as the person who ruined their perfect summer and broke their new sister's heart."
That's when I knew this wasn't just a disagreement. It was a declaration of war. She was threatening to poison my children against me, to use them as pawns in her game. My fear isn't about losing money. It's that my children will grow up believing I'm a weak man who let their mother walk all over him, or worse, that they'll adopt her toxic, manipulative behavior as normal. This is no longer about preserving a fragile peace. This is about defending my role as a father and teaching my kids what family, respect, and boundaries truly mean. So, Reddit, I have to ask, am I the bad guy for refusing to pay for my ex-wife's stepdaughter's camp? This is where my story begins. I'm standing at a crossroads and I'm not sure which path to take. Subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and let me know in the comments what you think I should do. I'll be reading every single one. Thank you all for the overwhelming support and advice on my last post. It gave me the clarity and strength I needed. The consensus was clear. Hold the line, document everything, and get a lawyer. So that's exactly what I did. My first step was to find a good family law attorney. I found a man named Arthur Wells, an older gentleman with a reputation for being calm, methodical, and utterly ruthless in the courtroom. I sat in his quiet, book-lined office and laid out the whole story, including the years of me trying to keep the peace for the kids' sake.
So, for years, you've been the reasonable one, and she has taken that for granted. Now, she's escalating because you've finally set a boundary.
He said, peering at me over his glasses.
This isn't about a summer camp, son. It's a power play. She's testing your limits. Our first move is to respond, not in anger, but with legal precision.
He advised me to communicate with Jessica only through a court-monitored messaging app from now on. Every text, every email was now evidence. The first message I sent through the app was simple and direct, reiterating my position. I would happily pay for everything related to Liam and Sophia, but I was not financially responsible for her new family. The backlash was faster and more insidious than I could have imagined. Jessica didn't just get angry, she got strategic. She began a smear campaign. I started getting concerned calls from other parents at my kids' school. It turns out Jessica had forwarded a carefully selected version of our email exchange to the PTA president and a few other concerned mothers. She had framed the story to make me look like a petty, cruel man who was deliberately excluding a child out of spite. She painted herself as the victim, a mother just trying to create a happy, inclusive environment for her children. The most painful part was when my son Liam came home from school looking troubled. "Dad, is it true you won't let Maya go to camp with us?" he asked, his eyes wide with confusion. "Mrs. Davis's mom said you think she isn't really our sister." My heart broke. Jessica was already carrying out her threat, feeding lies to our children through the mouths of others. I sat down with both Liam and Sophia and explained the situation in the simplest, most age-appropriate way I could. I told them that I loved them more than anything, and that Maya was a wonderful girl. I explained that families have different responsibilities, and my job as their dad was to take care of them, just like Maya's dad's job was to take care of her. They seemed to understand, but the seed of doubt had been planted. The pressure mounted. I felt like I was being judged by the entire community of our small town, Riverton. People who used to greet me with a friendly wave now offered a curt nod or looked away. It was isolating. For a moment, I doubted myself. Maybe I should just pay the money. Maybe it would be easier to just give in and make all of this go away. But then I looked at my kids and I thought about the lesson I would be teaching them. That bullying works, that you can get what you want if you just manipulate people hard enough. I couldn't do it. My resolve hardened. This was bigger than a summer camp. This was about my integrity as a man and a father. Jessica has turned our community against me and is starting to poison my children's minds. I feel like I'm fighting a battle on all fronts. What would you do if your reputation was being systematically destroyed like this? Let me know in the comments. The comments on my last update were a lifeline. So many of you warned me that this smear campaign was a classic tactic and urged me to dig deeper. You told me that this level of desperation from Jessica and Derek likely wasn't just about a summer camp. You were right. Arthur, my lawyer, had the same suspicion.
People this aggressive are usually hiding something.
He mused during one of our calls.
Their financial situation might be worth a look. A demand this brazen often comes from a place of desperation, not just entitlement.
He recommended a private investigator, a discreet professional named Frank, to do a background check on Derek. I was hesitant at first. It felt like a massive invasion of privacy. But this was war, and Jessica had already proven she would stop at nothing. I needed to know what I was up against. I gave Frank the green light. A week later, Frank called me. "You were right to be suspicious," he said. "Derek isn't the successful entrepreneur he pretends to be." The report he sent over was a bombshell. Derek's successful consulting business was a sham. It was a registered LLC, but it had almost no income. Worse, Frank had uncovered a string of failed businesses and a mountain of hidden debt. Derek had defaulted on several large loans connected to a restaurant that went under 2 years ago. He owed nearly six figures to creditors who were getting more and more aggressive. They were on the verge of filing lawsuits that could seize his assets. Suddenly, everything clicked into place. This wasn't about a perfect blended family or Maya's feelings. It was a desperate cash grab. They needed my money to plug the holes in their sinking financial ship. The expensive summer camp was just the cover story. They were trying to use my income to bail Derek out of his disastrous financial decisions. The audacity of it left me breathless. They weren't just manipulating me. They were building their entire life on a foundation of lies, and they wanted me to pay the mortgage. This discovery was the smoking gun I needed. It transformed my perception of the conflict. I wasn't fighting against a misguided ex-wife and her new husband anymore. I was up against two cornered, desperate people who were willing to sacrifice my relationship with my children to save themselves. My anger was replaced by a cold, sharp focus. I now had a plan. The next step was a court-ordered mediation session that Jessica had requested, hoping a mediator would pressure me into paying. She thought she was walking into a session where she could play the victim. She had no idea I was about to detonate a truth bomb that would blow her entire narrative to pieces. I now have proof that this whole thing is a lie. The mediation is in 3 days. I'm walking into the lion's den, but now I have teeth of my own. How do you think I should use this information for maximum impact? Drop your suggestions below. The day of the mediation arrived. I walked into the conference room feeling a strange sense of calm. The weight of self-doubt was gone, replaced by the heavy certainty of the truth. Jessica and Derek were already there, sitting opposite me. Jessica had a look of strange sorrow on her face, the perfect mask of a concerned mother. Derek sat beside her, looking smug, like a man who was confident he was about to get a nice fat check. The mediator, a pleasant woman named Sarah, began the session with the usual pleasantries.
Thank you both for coming. The goal here is to find a solution that is in the best interest of the children.
Jessica launched into her well-rehearsed speech. She spoke about the importance of sibling bonds, about not wanting Maya to feel like an outsider. She even managed to squeeze out a few tears as she described the imaginary pain her stepdaughter would feel.
I just don't understand why he is being so cruel.
She said, dabbing her eyes.
This is tearing the family apart. All I want is for our children to be happy together. It's not about the money. It's about the principle of family.
I let her finish. I listened patiently as she painted me as the villain. Derek nodded along, adding comments about how they just want to co-parent in a positive way. When it was my turn to speak, I didn't raise my voice. I looked directly at the mediator. I agree that this is about principle, I began. The principle of parental responsibility. I am and always will be 100% responsible for my children, Liam and Sophia. I paused, then turned my gaze to Derek, which is why I find it so interesting that this sudden, urgent need for my financial support for Maya has come up now. I am a little confused. Derek, you run a successful consulting firm, don't you? Surely the cost of a summer camp isn't an issue for you. Derek shifted in his seat.
My business is doing fine. This is about what's fair.
Is it? I asked, keeping my tone even. Because I was under the impression that your previous venture, the Oakwood Grill, wasn't so fine. In fact, I believe there are still some outstanding debts from that, to the tune of about $95,000 if my information is correct. The air in the room went still. The color drained from Derek's face. Jessica's jaw went slack, her victim mask crumbling to reveal pure shock and fury.
Where did you hear that? You have no right.
She stammered. I ignored her and continued speaking to the mediator. My point is, this has nothing to do with a summer camp or a child's feelings. This is a calculated attempt to extort money from me to cover his irresponsible financial decisions. They are using the children, all of them, as leverage in a desperate attempt to stay afloat. They've lied to me, they've lied to our community, and they are lying to you right now. I slid a folder across the table. It contained the summary of the investigator's report. The mediator opened it, her eyes scanning the first page. The silence was deafening. Jessica and Derek just stared, their bluff completely and utterly called. The smugness was gone, replaced by the raw panic of being exposed. The mediation was over before it had even truly begun. They knew I had them. The truth is out, and their plan has been completely exposed. They left the mediation in a state of shock, but this is far from over. Now I have to decide on my next and final move. What should I do now to ensure the long-term well-being of my children? Share your final pieces of advice in the comments. It's been 6 months since the disastrous mediation session. The fallout was immediate and decisive. Armed with the evidence of Derek's financial instability and their coordinated attempt to extort money from me, Arthur filed a motion to revise our custody agreement. He argued that Jessica's household was unstable and that her judgment was clouded by desperation. He demonstrated a clear pattern of manipulation and parental alienation. The court battle was short. Jessica and Derek had no defense. Their lies were laid bare. The court saw their actions for what they were, a selfish, manipulative scheme. I was granted primary physical and legal custody of Liam and Sophia. Jessica's visitation is now supervised, pending a psychological evaluation and co-parenting classes. Her campaign to ruin my reputation in our town backfired spectacularly once the truth came out. The same people who had been shunning me were now offering quiet, supportive words. But winning in court wasn't the end of the story for me. It felt hollow. My primary goal was never to punish Jessica, but to protect my children and teach them the right lessons. I thought about Maya, the 10-year-old girl who was an unwitting pawn in all of this. It wasn't her fault that her father was irresponsible or that her stepmother was a manipulator. She was the real victim. So I did something that Arthur called unconventional and my friends called insane. I took the money that I would have spent on the summer camp for Liam and Sophia, who decided they'd rather have a camping trip with me anyway. Through my lawyer, I had the full amount for the arts camp deposited into a trust for Maya to be used for that camp or any other educational purpose she chose. It was done anonymously. The only note attached was a single typewritten sentence. Every child deserves a chance, and it should never depend on the mistakes of adults. I didn't do it for Jessica or Derek. I did it for Maya, and I did it for myself. I needed to prove mostly to myself that my fight was about principles, not pettiness. It was against the manipulation, not against a child. I was drawing the final, undeniable line between my responsibilities and their demands. My life is different now. It's calmer. The house is filled with the happy noise of my children, secure in the knowledge that their home is stable and their father is a man of his word. We went on that camping trip, just the three of us. Sitting by the fire, under the stars, Liam turned to me. "Dad," he said, "I'm glad we're here. I'm glad you're our dad." In that moment, I knew I had won the only victory that ever truly mattered. I hadn't just protected my boundaries. I had shown my children what it means to be strong, to be principled, and to be a true parent. It wasn't the easy path, but it was the right one. Thank you all for being a part of this journey. Your advice and support were invaluable. This community gave me the strength to stand up for myself and my kids. If you want to see more stories like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel and ring that bell. Thank you for watching.